From holographic covers to alternate art, 3D, metallic, glow in the dark, and even connecting covers, the variant has been one of the driving forces of sales in comic books for ages now. I'm your host, The Power Trip, and this week's next issue is The Variant. Starting in 1986 with Man of Steel number 1, the variant cover has been, it's been a very special thing for comic book collectors. Used to, we just had really big events, big things that would happen in books. That was the main thing that really boosted sales and drove people to buy the book, i.e., the death of Superman. But in the 90s, there was a really big boom in comic books. Once again, the death of Superman, that actually brought out the collector's value in these books. A lot of people were buying these books because they knew someday someone would actually spend a lot of money to get a first printing of the death of Superman, because Superman was this iconic hero. Well, still is, but you get the point. Well, with the increase in readers and collectors, all comic book companies decided to put their hands into the drawing bin to try out different types of variants, and we got some crazy things in the 90s. Some of them included collectible holographic cards that were pretty much glued to the cover, like Fatal Attractions. You had covers around covers that were basically like 3D, where you could peel off one side, and on the other side you had a whole nother separate part of the cover. It would reveal and hide certain things from it. You had the shiny metallic covers that were pretty standard. 3D holograms, where if you move the cover a certain way, you'd see a picture. You had connector covers, where you'd have to get two copies of the same book just to get the books to side by side to make a picture. In some cases, there was more than just two. You could get up to like 6 or 8 copies of the book to make this giant picture. You had 3D hologram covers, which I think I actually mentioned already, so my apologies. There's just so many out there. You had glow-in-the-dark covers, which when left in the in the light, you actually could turn the light off and it would glow the picture, at least parts of the picture, out in the dark at you. And you had sketch covers, where it was just a blank cover with the title on there, and you could actually have the artist draw a picture on there, usually one of the characters in the book, but it could be a picture of you on the cover if you wanted. There was even a book that had the stickers you could put just specifically on the book, and you could actually, it was those kinds of stickers you could take off and put back onto things and redo the picture over and over again. It was a issue of Superman where he fought Lobo, and it came with a ton of these things. You could put little interactive Superman-Lobo fighting all over the cover. It's crazy in the 90s how many different types of variants you had. Whereas people were more used to the collectible side of the variant, where the only real difference you could get between them really was maybe the logo was a different color, or just one alternate picture on there. It became just this grand, extravagant, what can we do with these books besides just draw a picture on there? And it was amazing. After the 90s, variants kind of calmed down for a little while. And then a few years ago, they decided to make another comeback. Whereas the variant still portrays big events like the death of Superman, which was polybagged. You had your standard cover, and you had the platinum cover as well, so several different variants just for that book way back then. Now you see a lot of variants every single week. A lot of different companies are doing different themes now. Marvel and DC in particular are actually doing like Warner Brothers themes, or rap music themes, or monster movie type themes, or even just movie poster replica themes for their covers. You can still get the regular cover, and then if you like, say Green Arrow shooting his bow and arrow next to Daffy Duck, you can spend an extra dollar or two for that variant. Then you have the more collectible variants past that, and how variants seem to work today, the same way they worked back in the day, but more so now, is depending on how many copies of a book the comic book store can get in, will depend on what variants that store can get in as well. A really good example was Convergence Zero. You had the normal cover, you had the cover with the Injustice characters on the front, and then you had the really rare cover with two different versions of Catwoman on it. To pick up this book right when it came out and get that cover for, I believe when it came out, maybe $10, $15 was a steal. And seeing as how the day after it came out, it was already selling on Amazon, eBay, and several other places for $100, that should tell you how quickly the collectible value of these books can go up. Now, we're not going to go into the grading system here. This is about the different covers and the fun that can be had in these, the different themes, what you're looking for. You even have store-specific covers. Hot Topic has very specific covers on a lot of books from IDW, such as the My Little Pony book, that you can't get anywhere else because it is that store-specific. Now, once again, the variant is there specifically for the collector. And I'll get more in depth with this in my article next week, as I'll go over a lot more of the details and more examples, very fun examples actually, of the variant cover. But I'll leave it at this in the fact of it really depends. If you're just looking for the book to read, you can get a second, third, fourth printing. Usually when you're getting a different printing of the book, the only thing that changes on the cover is maybe the color style. It'll still have the same exact drawing. They just usually modify the color itself on the cover. Instead of a white background, it might be a red background. Something like that. Past that, if you're wanting the more special covers, it's going to take a little harder. It's going to be harder to find. It's going to take a lot more searching to get to. Given you still have your easier to find variants, the themed variants nowadays are actually only about $1 more. And unless they just go completely sold out in a matter of minutes, they don't go up that high in value. You can usually tell how rare a cover is if you go into the comic book store and you go to pick up that issue of Batman or Spider-Man or the Avengers, and the book itself, which would normally cost you about $2.50, $3, all of a sudden costs you $20. If you look down, you notice that the cover you're holding is different from the most of the ones on the shelf. That's probably why. And to be honest, if I were you at that point, unless you're just really scrapping for money, I would go ahead and pick up that cover, have them put it in a bag, and go pick up one of the cheaper covers to actually read, and I wouldn't open that one again. And once again, while I won't get into detail of it right now, I would probably go ahead and spend the extra money at some point, maybe a week or two down the road, to send that one off to be graded so that you really lock in that collector's value. For a lot of you guys out there, you'll also know that for collecting purposes, or if you just don't want to miss an issue on your books, it also helps to get you a box that a lot of people, a pull box I should say, that a lot of people get at comic book stores, so that the store knows how many of a book to order, and you're 99.9% chance guaranteed to get a copy of the book that you want, as long as it's written down for your pull box. Like I said, I'm not going to go into too much here. I'm going to do more of that on my article, but I hope you enjoyed listening to my rant on the variant covers, and feel free to put in the comments some of your experience, or even your experiences of trying to find that hard to get cover to a book, the version of a book you really like. Or tell me some of these crazy covers you guys have actually found. I know, while it doesn't count so much as a cover, if you guys haven't already seen, or I should say smell, the Harley Quinn Scratch and Sniff annual that came out about a year or two ago, you're really missing out there. I'll see you guys next week for the next issue.